Do the questions we ask ourselves impact the answers we give ourselves? That's what I'm thinking. Hey, before we jump into this episode, I wanted to say thanks to everybody for the comments and feedback on our last episode about time and how to make time tangible. Wanted to ask people also to subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, or forward this to somebody that you think might find it useful. We're trying to spread the reach and the impact of this video series. So share it when you can, subscribe if you can. And with that, let me jump into this idea. I've been reading a book recently, and they had this concept of framing bias and how you ask questions and what that means. And I'll bring up the example they had in the book was that, listen, let's say you're the governor of a state and there's a respiratory disease that's spreading, it's coming to your state, and the experts tell you, hey, we think it's going to kill 60,000 people, but we've come up with a couple different solutions and you need to decide what those solutions are. Solution A, if we follow this course of action, instead of 60,000 people die, 20,000 people are going to be saved. Right? And if we follow option B, that course of action, there's a 1 in 3 chance that all 60,000 people will be saved, but then a 2 in 3 chance that nobody's saved. Which choice do you take? Think about that for a minute. All right? Now let's jump over the same background scenario with this respiratory virus coming in. This time your experts come in and say, we've got these two options. Here's what they are, though. Option 1 is that 40,000 people are going to die. Option 2 is that there's a 1 in 3 chance that nobody dies, but a 2 in 3 chance that everybody dies. Which option do you take in that scenario? Think about that for a minute, right? Now let's pull up those two potential solutions, and when we look at them side by side, it's really obvious that option A and option 1 are the same thing, right? In one case, we're framing it in the sense of who survives. 20,000 people are saved. The other one, 40,000 people die, right? Option B and option 2 are also the same thing, right? 1 in 3 chance we save everyone, 2 in 3 chance that you save nobody and everybody dies, right? But think about how you felt while you were considering those two options, and think about your answers. If you're like most people, they did this big study using this exact question. In the first scenario, like 75% of people chose option A. I know I can save 20,000 people, right? But when it's framed the other direction, I know that 40,000 people are going to die, even though it's the same math. 75% of people, in given option 1 versus 2, chose option 2. Right? And so think about this, the exact same thing, and how it feels if we frame things positively. How many people are saved, and we know we can save them, versus how many people die and the chances of letting nobody die. Two very, almost the exact opposite, right? It was just like 75% on the opposite sides of action. So really interesting to think about the idea of what I tell myself, how I frame the questions, how I read the questions or consider the options. Even though the things might be exactly equal, have a very different, my reaction to them might be very different. And what does this mean? Of course, I like to think about thinking just in general. How do I make better decisions in life? Professionally speaking, we're talking about financial planning. How do we think about, the success of this investment program or plan versus the downsides and the potential failures of that, right? How are we framing those things? And retirement projections, how are we framing the success rate of something versus the failure rate? And of course, everything's on a continuum, so we have both of those, but how am I presenting it? How am I thinking about it as I give advice to clients? How am I framing it to clients as they think about what their choices are? So professionally it applies, but how many other places in life are the things that I think I know the answer to? Here's what I would do in this situation. In today's political climate, if I were president, what I'd do with these things. And then it makes me step back and think, am I framing it in the right fashion? So I think it was Einstein or some scientist, is always invert. Maybe it was Charlie Munger that talked about, take what you think and turn it on its head. And that's what I've thought about since reading this, is maybe I need to take what I think and turn it. What if I reverse the context? Do I still come up with the same answer? I think that can be really helpful in all of our decision making. So anyway, that's what I'm thinking about today. As always, interested in knowing what you're thinking about. What was your reaction? How did you answer those questions at first? After thinking about them and comparing them, is your answer different? Really love to hear what your take is on this. If you're watching on YouTube, drop a comment in the comment box. Shoot me an email directly. If you don't, share this with other people. And as always, thanks for watching.